Hey, Amber.
They saw my tum-tum!
The moon landing didn't happen.
Are you actually gonna wear that?
Sorry, but like, ew.
Did she spray Pam on the food?
That ass, though.
You're lol cows. That's what you guys do.
Everything that's done in the dark comes to light in GorlWorld.
Hey folks, what's good? Today I have some GorlWorld lore for you. To be honest, I'm not sure that lore is really the right word, but it's what we're working with for this series. The Amberverse has been wild lately.
What a time to be alive.
There I was wondering if there was ever going to be enough for me to talk about on a regular basis, and instead I feel like I can't even keep up. And Amber has recently become the side character in her own story, while the rest of the cast is in the spotlight. I love it. But I do think it's important to pause the rubbernecking every now and then, just to reflect a bit. We already knew that Amber is a cruel human being, right? But what Beck has been sharing with us recently, it has been a whole nother level of disgusting. You know, just when you think Amber can't get any worse, she does. And then she does it again. Learning that Amber had taken Beck's inheritance from them. Oh.
A despicable piece of shit.
It made my blood boil. It was like I was nauseous and my heart sank at the same time. But today, we're not going to be talking about that, actually. Instead, I want to reflect on something that Casey actually shared with us a while back. It's not new information for anyone who's been around the Amberverse for a while. I'm going to bring some information from the past back into the present. Kind of like a PSA to anyone who isn't already aware of it. That is pretty much what GorlWorld 101 was always supposed to be about, after all. Before we dig in, I just wanted to say that things are going to get pretty serious today. So I want to offer a significant trigger warning. If you'd rather not hear about those topics, I totally understand and would suggest that you skip this one. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right. Ready? Let's go. So, this karma era of Amberlynn Reid's exes and ex-friends, speaking out has, well, it's really been something. We got Beck, who's been opening up more and more about their past with Amber over the course of the last month or so?
She would just be really upset and angry about it, and the binge monster would come out. Well, that's what she called it.
There's also Alexis, who's still popping up here and there with, I don't know, whatever Alexis decides she wants to share.
Oh my god, I hate myself.
What is life? What is life? What is life?
And now we hear that Destiny's back online. And it turns out that Destiny and Beck are actually going to be doing a live stream together pretty soon, which I am fondly calling the Beckstiny collab. And now we found out that Casey is actually going to be starting a new podcast with his friends. And Beck is going to be their first guest. Shh. And it is giving karma. And it is well deserved, in my opinion. At time of filming, we haven't yet been graced with Casey's podcast or with the Beckstiny collab, but my mind has been running rampant just thinking about all the things that they might discuss. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Amber is not just this bad girlfriend, that leaves a trail of angry exes. According to every ex that speaks out, she's actually abusive, both mentally and sometimes physically. As the time passes and her exes heal from their trauma, we get to learn more about it. Sometimes in small bits, and other times, like at present day. a whole lot comes out all at once. Beck has been really putting in the work to heal from their time with Amber. Having been left in the cold with no money, no job, and unsure if they would ever be able to trust anyone with their heart again.
I don't know if I can date ever again because I've just got so much trauma and PTSD, and coming out of that, I feel I'm ruined from being in relationships because I haven't really been with anyone since. And whenever I would try to talk to people just to see where it would go, if it would be, friends or anything more than that, I would slowly stop talking to them. And I feel awful for doing it, but I'm terrified. I'm so scared that I'm not enough, and what I bring to the table isn't what anyone would want.
The trauma inflicted by Amber was so great that it's taken years for Beck to finally reach a place where they can speak out about it. And of course, Amber doesn't see it that way. Amber only sees her life from her own narrow and highly delusional perspective. She is never going to learn from her mistakes because she's never going to think that she made any. She is completely unaware, or she just simply doesn't care how her actions affect other people. And there are so many examples of her mistreatment. Okay, so one recent one that comes to mind was her explanation of the lint-picking.
She would have me sit behind her and pretend to pick lint off of her back because she liked the way it felt and sounded.
Pluck. I want you guys literally to look up ASMR plucking. Not once did I say pick lint off of me.
Amber's entire explanation, and not apology, mind you, was from her perspective only.
It's like I still found joy in it.
How she saw it, how it made her feel.
It is one of the most calming things. It is just so therapeutic. For me, it's always been out of a place of comfort.
And a chance to bond with her partners.
It was always such a bonding experience.
But she never recognized the fact that Beck had literally just said that they never wanted to do that.
She would set a timer.
That they were timed and forced to do this mind-numbing activity, keeping them in the same room as Amberlynn for hours, sometimes every single day, until that timer ran out.
She would have me do this for so long that my arms and stuff would hurt. And whenever I would want to stop, she would sigh and just be like, well, I'm going to pause the timer. So she would pause the timer for my little break.
That it was actually traumatic for them in the long run because they had no choice in the matter.
And then I'd have to immediately go back to it, and she would unpause the timer again. Sometimes I would catch her not unpausing the timer because she would want me to do it for longer.
I've never made anyone.
They had been trapped monetarily, mentally, and physically by Amberlynn. So, Amber, why don't you tell us some more about how this trauma that you inflicted on Beck was so soothing for you? The two sides of this story have been stuck in my mind ever since I heard them. And sure, you can say that there are 3 sides to every story. And I wasn't, in fact, in the room with them when this was happening. That's a fact. But I'll tell you what, I am certainly inclined to believe that the truth is way closer to what Beck has to say. If not the full truth, in fact. I'd happily believe Beck any day. I just can't personally confirm it. So, as for now, it is all alleged. Of course, as my mind tends to do, it wanders. And out of the dusty corners of my mind came a memory of something that Casey had once spoken about. I'd watched it, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago. And yeah, my memory was a bit hazy, but nonetheless, I did remember it. After a bit of digging, I found the screenshot that I'd saved in my folder of folders of things I might want to talk about on the channel at some point. It was right there. So, on to today's history lesson.
I was having anxiety attack. I called her. I stayed home from school that day. I called her. I was like really upset. And she yelled at me over the phone and made it seem like it was my fault.
Since Casey wasn't a part of Amberlynn's channel in real time, we don't have as much information about him as we do her other exes. Instead, over time, we've gathered stories here and there. Lies from Amber, rebuttals from Casey, the Mr. Snowflake interview, Amberlynn's Ask FM and Facebook posts, which, wow. Casey also did some other live streams here and there, even with his mom. It's not much, but it's certainly enough to know that their relationship was not good, to say the very least. So while I'm not going to be digging into their entire history today, I did think that it would be a good idea to read up on the past just a little bit for anyone who isn't as well versed on this particular subject. After a seriously tough relationship with Amber, Casey's mistreatment left such a lasting impact on him that he too would end up seeing a mental health professional after the relationship ended. And that mental health professional had Casey work through some of the trauma by doing this exercise. It was one that would have him face it head on. And as I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist, but I have actually heard about this strategy to start a healing process through writing. For instance, you could write a letter to someone who hurt you, even if you never intend to send it. Or in this case, writing out a list that describes your experience in some way. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know exactly what the full healing process is supposed to look like. But ultimately, Casey did write down what he understood to be Amberlynn's rules of their relationship. He then decided to share that list with us. And of course, I hope that he decided that as part of his healing process.
I was told I should share this with you guys as my supporters. It was a list I made when I was in therapy about, granted, I don't think this way now. And, but this list that I have here, I was told to write it down. I was told to share with you guys this list I wrote down time ago because this is all the stuff that I had to deal with. I'm sorry, getting a little emotional. It's not just, this is...
Now, I personally wasn't on that original live stream where he shared the list, but it was archived by the channel CXNT. So that means that we continue to get to learn from Casey to this very day. What he shared, it was really difficult to read. It was so hard, in fact, that Casey actually wasn't able to read it out loud himself.
So, I'm warning you now, this list is kind of hard to read. It's not very good to read at all. And it makes me very sad that at one point, this is how I viewed myself compared to the person I was dating.
Instead, what he had done was he held it up to the camera, said that we could read it on our own. Afterwards, he did look down on it and he did speak to some of the points on that list. So I was thinking that I'd read the list out loud for us now. Basically just because it was actually pretty hard to read it in that video because the resolution was pretty bad and Casey's handwriting was pretty small. But I took some time to transcribe it, enhance it a bit, and figure out exactly what it said. And then I also found another photo of that list elsewhere to make sure I got it all right. So I'm going to do that now. And then I'm going to let Casey share his thoughts as he did on that day. And I honestly don't think it would be right or even necessary whatsoever for me to add my own commentary as we go through the list. And of course, I have a lot of thoughts, but whatever I have to say, it doesn't really matter in the end because this list was Casey's. He just wanted to share it with us. And he didn't ask for any of our feedback. So I think it's important to share it again as a reminder to us all who Amberlynn is and always has been for over a decade at least. Don't ask for anything outright. Ask permission to touch her. Ask to cuddle. Do whatever she asks. Spoil her. Do things she likes. Don't bore her with my interests. Don't talk too much. Speak when spoken to. Always cuddle her, and don't ask for massages. Earn cuddles and massages. It's normal to be hit. Try not to be stupid. Don't spend money on myself. Ask permission for everything. Allow 1 minute if suddenly cuddled, or at least a few seconds. Make food and pack lunch correctly. Don't make her repeat herself. Give her massages every day. Don't spill things. And treat her like a queen.
And this was especially the part where I thought it was normal to be hit at one. That was bad. Don't ask for anything outright. That's because I was made to feel like shit if I asked for anything. Ask permission to ask stuff. Ask to cuddle. Do whatever she asks. Spoil her. Do what she likes. Don't bore her with my interests. Hey, this was slavery. I really did think it was normal to be hit. That was not right.
I think right now what I would like to do is have a little palate cleanser that was really, really tough. So I'm going to head on over to the Corgi cam for a second and see how Mini Waffles is doing. She is a very good girl. Yeah. Smushy, crooked, tired face. You're a good girl. Thank you. All right. Let's move on. Amber is not just a bad girlfriend. In my opinion, she's actually a very scary person. And this list, it gives me chills every time I look at it. I actually believe that the people around Amberlynn are safer due to her size and lack of mobility. When she was with Casey, she was smaller than she is today. So I guess think about it this way. A viper that can't move quickly can't strike its target. Today, with every moment that passes and the more truths that are revealed by her exes, hopefully the more her supporters will start to realize that she is in fact a snake. I know I'm not the only one that is looking forward to hearing what Beck has to say next, as well as Destiny, and especially after rereading that list, Casey. But I'm also not saying that I'm sitting here and expecting them to say anything, right? They don't have to spill any tea, but I will be here and accept it if they offer it up. And that's not just me being greedy about it. Yeah, sure, I love the drama. We all do. But what I love more than that is the truth coming out. Because for some reason, there are still so many people that support Amberlynn. They seem to be just like blind to her toxic behavior, and I just don't get it.
It's weird.
Or at least they're just too willing to forgive her for it, in my opinion. I don't wish Amberlynn harm, but I also do not think that she deserves the platform that she has. She's sitting there laughing about the money that she's making off her lies. Although, come to think of it, she hasn't been laughing that much lately. She's just been sitting in her apartment all alone, reacting to her own old content. I guess, karma really can be a real bitch when she needs to be.
Because that's fucked up.
And that, my friends, brings me to today's reminder. Today we're actually going to do something a little bit different. No ding. A little too serious for that today. But instead of my own words, I want to leave you with a quote from a show that I recently watched. And no, not the one that I just did another video about. It's a different one, but it's also one that has some shared themes with GorlWorld. Well, in any case, it did feel right for this moment. So here we go. Writing is where I go to be honest about how I feel. Sometimes it's the only way for me to know what it is that I'm feeling. Like, I have to write in order to see what I'm gonna write, if that makes any sense. I find that it's a lot easier to write the truth than to say it out loud. No one can tell you that you're wrong or that your words are wrong, because they're not. You're right. And your words are fucking right. Because they're yours. And I think that's worth remembering. Unless you're Amberlynn. Well, still kind of applies to our junk journals, I guess. Today's shout out goes to the user Twink Twank Twonk, who mentioned my video about Capstone 1892, Amberlynn's very first hater, in a comment to Mr. Snowflake. Now, he ended up reading it on one of his latest videos, and it seriously made my day. Thank you so much to both of you, actually. And hey, welcome to all of the new subscribers that came here from Mr. Snowflake's video. I think there were about 50 of you. And side note, I do promise I'm not always this serious, just sometimes. All right, I am still a small channel though, so if you wouldn't mind helping me out with the algorithm, hit like, share, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. And if you'd like to support this channel even more than that, you can become a channel member. All right, I'm gonna leave a couple of videos on screen if you would like to continue watching. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Karma's only just getting started.